This podcast is good, but it can be better.
Yes, it can.
All right, after a bit of a hiatus here,
Yeah.
that's on us. We're back.
It's before and after the movies.
I'm Aman,
I'm Anthony.
and today we'll be doing Wonder Woman 1984 or Wonder Woman
Yeah.
84?
1984.
1984?
Right? 1984.
I thought it was WW84.
1,800 and...
Well, clearly I missed the other ones.
Yeah.
All right, directed and partially...
Patty Jenkins.
Okay. Starring
Gal Gadot.
Chris Pine.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Hollywood's hot man right
Yeah,
now.
really.
And Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig.
Mm-hmm.
And any other notable names?
Not that I saw, but I didn't go too deep.
Yeah. I'm imagining we're going to see some familiar faces at some point.
Oh, yeah, Robin Wright.
If I know the DCEU.
Hey, save that for the fast questions.
Yes. DCEU.
DCEU. So, yeah, this came out Christmas Day. We're a little bit late on it.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way.
It does. And I think around that time, I don't know about you, but I was going through this, like, if I can't see one movie, I don't want to see any of them phase. It was a bit of a...
definitely not Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it was a bit of a protest. I was feeling a bit like just sick and tired of like not seeing all these movies that we saw the trailers for and that were promised. So I kind of switched to TV for a while, and I've just been watching like tons of TV shows.
Okay.
But now I'm feeling that like movie itch, and as we start to hopefully over the next few months get out of this kind of pandemic we're in, and more movies can start getting released, I'm predicting a big bounce back for the movie industry.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, I think we can touch on that in a little bit here.
Yeah.
But first off, how about I hit you with some fast questions?
Yep.
Question number
Flash
one.
questions.
It's like you read my notes. Yeah. What DC character cameo are we getting, and why is it Ezra Miller?
Yeah, I think it's a very strong chance of Ezra because I know they're prepping his Flash movie. But I'm gonna go out there and say we get a little bit of. But everyone's like, there's no Ben Affleck, there's no Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
This is a slow...
Who you got? You
can
get some art pads in there?
It's only Ezra. It's so boring. I don't think we're seeing Cyborg anytime soon.
I wouldn't mind to see like a Clark Kent maybe.
But like a recasted Clark Kent?
No. Henry is neither signed nor not signed.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck is for sure gone.
But he's coming back in The Flash.
Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So they're doing like... They're really committing to this like multi-universe thing. Apparently Michael Keaton's in it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ben Affleck, Christian Bale.
George Clooney.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 2. Does Chris Pine die again?
Yes. This time for real.
I think so as well. And number 3, is Cheetah more than just a second act villain?
Yeah, I think she's the main villain.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think we get a surprise like Doomsday kind of thing?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I think we do.
It's interesting because I have it on my predictions here. Will Diana Prince meet her physical match in this movie? She's obviously up there with like Superman in terms of powers. I think she's probably a little bit weaker.
And the way they like nerfed her in the first one was she was just very new to everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she kind of unleashed her power a little bit.
I don't really know much about Cheetah, but I imagine that she's not a physical match for Wonder Woman. She might be a little scrappy.
Yeah, almost like a Joker type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Joker
so I think you might be onto something. I'm not sure. I have no idea who Pedro Pascal plays in this movie.
Yeah, so that's one of my questions for you. Like, who the fuck is Pedro Pascal?
Yeah, like it's not like it's the Marvel universe where I would have a chance at being like, oh, maybe they're pulling from this arc or this arc. Like, I don't really know. So it's probably just maybe another character. But he, if anything, seems like the character that would not be the physical match, but like the Lex Luthor type guy.
Yeah, unless we get another like he's actually a god at the end.
Lex Luthor. Maybe we get a Jesse Eisenberg cameo.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Ooh, that would be very, very nice.
I will not be appearing in this movie.
Ooh, Diana Prince. Before we go into any more predictions, thoughts on the first Wonder Woman? Thoughts on Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman?
I think she's great. I really like her. She's got a great intensity about her. I feel her like I think there was a scene in Wonder Woman where she's like grieving like over death and stuff like that. She's like very good at like throwing herself emotionally into things. Physically, obviously, she came under criticism when she was
took a lot
first
of flack
because it's just sorry she's not this like comic book like I guess like a Gina Carrizo like type figure, but you know, it's a movie, so she's got to kind of have the real feel as opposed to this like comic book feel. So I had no issues with that. I think she handled all the action really well. Seems like she gets stuck in. I always read like, oh, she's always running and doing a bunch of stunts and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think that's important for a character like this. But as far as the first Wonder Woman, I thought the cinematography was really good. Her suit looks awesome.
Yep.
But I found it like just a bit of a throwaway superhero movie overall. Nothing super memorable.
Yeah, I remember watching it in theaters and really enjoying it. The third act, it kind of falls into a bit tropey with Ares and like
Professor Lupin.
Exactly, some questionable CGI.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea that man was bad, but then at the end of the day, it was actually a super villain.
And it all just came. I remember feeling like the pacing of the movie was a bit off. Like it had this really slow burn start, and then it crammed all these massive things in right at the end.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't a huge fan of. But it's probably one of the better DC movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I liked it more than like Man of Steel.
When we talk about DC movies, do we have to stick to DCEU, or like does this include Joaquin Phoenix's Joker? Like,
it's a good question. We'll say no.
We can talk about any superhero DC movie.
Okay, so in terms of DCEU movie, it's probably the best of a bad bunch.
Yeah,
I can't think of any.
Well, I think that was when they had Justice League, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, and everyone's like, wow, these guys are dead in the water. And then all of a sudden Patty Jenkins at the helm releases this, and it was good. It was critically acclaimed.
Yeah, and it did very well financially.
For sure.
So it kind of saved them. And even now, like, I still think that they're like so sloppy with like the bigger picture or plan. It still feels like there's not a big vision. Now they're just kind of
they're just making good individual movies, maybe.
Yeah, and like a massive multiverse trend is on the horizon, and you're gonna see.
You can see it in Marvel, and you're gonna see it in DC.
Yeah, and they're both trying to beat each other to it. Yeah. With like Spider-Man 3, I think there's a pretty good chance we're getting like Tobey and Andrew Garfield.
Oh,
and then
yes, please.
And then they're trying to do like the multiple Batman things. It's like who's gonna do it better and who's gonna get there first. But it does seem like that the DCEU still all over the place. The Suicide Squad, is that in the same universe as the other one? Is it a sequel? I think it's like a reboot. Like,
is it a reboot with a couple of same characters? I don't know.
Yeah, and then you've got another Batman coming. I presume is that in the same universe, or is it just going to be a separate trilogy?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a bit messy. I mean,
you're hearing Joker 2 is.
Yeah, I mean, if I thought the X-Men timeline was messy, you go over to DC and it's like woof. All right, let's get into some predictions here.
Okay.
So I have one here. We're gonna get a scene where she goes back to the island. I think it's Themyscira.
I was gonna say Amazonia.
I wrote down Amazonia. I actually googled it before.
Okay.
So Themyscira, and she's gonna like plead for their help in some issue, and they're gonna turn her down and say no, like we don't ever leave the island. And the final act, they're all gonna leave the island and then help her in like New York or something. Yeah.
In New York. Riding on like a flying seahorse.
Yeah, exactly. Throwing spears and shit.
Yeah. Kid looking out of the taxi cab.
Mom.
Yeah. So what is because obviously like the title 1984 hints at like a bigger theme of like surveillance and like monitoring what you do and not having like free speech and all that. The movie takes place in the 80s, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the first one took place in World War One. Now we're skipping ahead to 84.
So what I always have a big issue with that when you've got your main franchise, which is like the Justice League, or like we've seen her in World War II and we've seen her in the modern day. So everything that she's gonna go through in this movie, she has already gone through last time we saw her.
Yes, you don't like that, eh?
So it for me it just kind of
Black Widow movie's just dead on arrival for you.
Yeah, but Black Widow's a bit different because they've earned.
Is it?
They've earned that right to jump around, and I feel like it's planned and there's continuity there, and it's all thought of. We're gonna see what happens in Budapest finally. Yeah. But with this, it's just kind of like she's gonna be a completely different character and be way more like grown and evolved as Wonder Woman than we saw her even in like Justice League.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
It's just gonna be all over the place. And I think that they're just trying to capitalize on like, set in the 80s because it's like different. Everyone loves 80s and we can play like 80s music.
Yeah, the trailer has some banging 80s music.
Yeah. So to me, I'm going into this movie a little bit cynical. I don't think it's going to be very good.
Okay. Have you read did you catch any reviews, any RT scores?
I think I saw the RT score was dipping in between negative and positive, right?
Really? I didn't see it. I just know it, like, I think it was met with like mediocrity.
Yeah. I remember seeing, you always see the first thing. It's like first screen testings, and then it's always so positive when it's like the first people have got their eyes on Wonder Woman, and it's certainly worth the wait in italics. And then you hear like, best DCEU movie ever.
Okay.
It's obviously just because people feel privileged to like have won a ticket, so they're just like feeling all happy.
Question for you here. How the fuck is Chris Pine alive?
I know.
I don't.
So he died in, was it a jet?
Yeah, he
The first one?
got on the plane that had like the nerve gas in it, and he like crashed in the air or something, sacrificed himself.
So either this kind of ties into my name that opening scene.
Name that opening scene.
I think I could see it starting off with Steve Trevor. I almost said Steve Rogers. I think we start off with him and we learn like what happened.
Oh, okay.
So either I think they really have to be careful with him not to like step into like Bucky, Captain America vibes, because he just like reeks of that.
Oh, okay. See, I thought they were going to go in a different direction. Go on.
Okay. So I think they'll start with him like on some mission in like World War II when we sort of learn like the beginning seeds of how he ends up coming back, like whether that's like he could be like a clone.
Okay.
He could, that's like the only option.
It sounds very Winter Soldier.
Yeah, so I think we start with some kind of action espionage sequence with Steve Trevor.
Back in like World War II
yeah.
or something. Okay, cool. So my opening scene is a little bit different. We get a very, very typical 80s. The movie's going to shove it down our throat that this is the 80s. So we get like people at a penny arcade.
Michael Jackson videos.
Yeah, exactly. Like breakdancing on the street, very puffy hair.
Yeah.
And it's going to be...
hey, girl.
Exactly. We're going to get like a panning shot to a bank robbery.
Okay.
And obviously Wonder Woman's going to arrive. She's going to stop it, but she doesn't recover money. She recovers some sort of like artifact or something. These aren't your typical bank robbing thieves. You know, they seem a bit more sophisticated, and that's kind of sets the trends. And I think
that's in the trailer, right?
No, that was in the trailer for Justice League.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I just got to retool that one to fit it for this.
So they do that scene, but good.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I think like Chris Pine gets revived by Pedro Pascal or something like that.
Okay.
And that kind of gives Pedro Pascal this power over Diana.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So he's like what was Guy Pearce's name in Iron Man 3?
Army
Artemis.
not Army Hammer.
What's his name?
Justin Hammer?
No, that's Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
That's just so bad. But you're thinking that kind of guy. I've been trying to meet with you, Miss Prince.
Exactly, yeah. I think I can really help you out. Robin shows up with Chris Pine.
Come to my laboratory. There's someone there you might want to meet.
Well, Pedro Pascal's doing great things. I know. Have you watched Mando yet? Season 2?
Not season 2.
How dare you?
I know. I'm getting to it.
How dare you sit in that seat right now? I'm looking at all Anthony's Star Wars posters right now. I'm ashamed.
I'm going to watch it. I'm looking forward to sitting
WandaVision?
down. No.
Yeah, me either. Yeah. Has anyone? Let us know in the chat if you've been watching WandaVision. Okay, here's another one for you. I think I may have read this, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I think we're getting an invisible jet scene. I just wonder how they're going to do it without it looking absolutely ridiculous.
Is that a Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman has an invisible jet, yeah.
So it's like the X jet,
but it's invisible, and like
you
can see her flying around. It's not like
so she's just like sitting.
She's just sitting on nothing.
That sounds horrible.
I know.
Like F4.
I'm excited for that. Because they're gonna do something pretty unique about it. Maybe she'll be in like a flying position or something.
Oh my god. Do you think we're gonna see like an awkward do we correct me if I'm wrong, did Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman have sex in the first one?
They did, yes.
They did?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get like an awkward, passionate, sexy scene, like a reunion scene? Like they're talking at they meet in a very public place and they're just kind of looking and talking, and then it cuts to them bursting into like a water closet or something. If it's just Steve.
No, I don't think we will. I think Patty Jenkins actually is a pretty efficient writer, and that's very cliche. And
they don't want them to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, their relationship is not.
It is quite sexual. It's
sexual, yeah, but it's not really about him saving her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's more like they kind of need each other.
Yeah, exactly.
But so no intercourse between Diana
no intercourse. I think we'll get like a makeout scene with allusion to nothing afterwards.
Maybe like one scene where he's like checking her out and she's like, "What are you looking at, Steve?"
Oh yeah, okay. Like, sorry, I've been dead 20 years.
So he's a total scumbag this time. Yo, what's up, baby?
Just checking that ass. Oh my god.
Okay, I got another question for you here.
All right, hit me.
Will we get some kind of cheetah catwoman joke punch thing?
Okay, yeah. Do you think she'll actually have like a... Oh, okay. Yes.
How is she created? Like, what's her inception?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm not too well versed in like the comics of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I know that this villain does exist. Just
No, you
like
didn't.
she's gonna have like frizzy hair, leopard print.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
I think she's gonna have like a pet cat,
Because this is a risk. Like,
or a pet cheetah.
man, like of all the villains that they could have plucked from,
Mm-hmm.
I think Patty Jenkins as a filmmaker probably like enjoyed the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, here's a villain that you hear the name like Cheetah. It makes a lot of people laugh, and like there's obviously like a lot of cat themed villains and heroes like haven't done well in cinema in the past.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have trouble selling that and like making it making the CGI look good. From the very little things I've seen, it didn't.
Oh really?
Look
I
very
haven't
good.
seen in the first teaser. I've only just seen like you just see
her,
Kirsten
yeah.
Wiig, yeah. Which is, I mean, she has proven herself to be quite an actor as well. So
Yeah, what are some of your favorite roles from her?
fuck you.
I know, I just had
Just fucking call me out like that.
Oh, bridesmaids. Yeah, I knew that was just an empty compliment.
All right. Anyways, moving on.
Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh my god! All right, yeah, you got me.
Yeah. So basically, we're not getting a Catwoman reference.
Not a Catwoman reference, but I think we will get like a campy, almost like a little bit over the top,
Bit tongue in cheek.
tongue in cheek. Like this woman likes cats,
Right,
And,
okay.
And
Oh,
she-
so it's tied to her before she becomes
exactly. Yeah,
Catwoman.
she kind of has like a little cat den. She's like, this is Scratchy, Itchy, and Felicia, and there's like her 3 cats that she loves so
Do
much.
you think they'll do like the bait and switch where it's like after her origin scene happens the next morning, like you see a ultra close up on like fangs, and as it pulls out, it's just her pet cat,
Yes.
and she's like still fine.
100%. Whoa, that was a weird night.
Yeah, she's like, oh, is that your milk?
Hairball.
Oh no, no hairball.
No hairball jokes.
I can't handle it.
Did Tom Hopper ruin that for all of us? You think we'll get like a zoo scene where she like steals a cheetah? I don't know. Like, how far does this
I'm
cheetah
liberating
go?
all animals. Is that like the deeper plot of this?
Okay, Aquaman. Ooh, Jason Momoa.
Oh fuck yeah, that's the
Totally
other
forgot
one.
about Jason Momoa.
That's the other one they got in their back pocket. You know what? I'd like to formally change my request.
Okay.
From Ezra Miller to
Jason Momoa. Fair enough. Yeah.
Hey, hot stuff.
Oh my god.
Need a hand. Bit of Steve intimidation.
Who's that?
I think we got this under control.
Okay, I got one here. We're gonna get a scene or a little bit where she like loses her powers somewhat.
Yeah.
And her and Chris Pine and Steve are gonna go on a civilian mission together, like a
okay.
spying one, and he's like,
Yeah, because there's gonna have to be that moment where like he proves his like use.
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
obviously she can do so much more than he can. Like maybe there's a scene where like he saves her life.
Mm-hmm.
Just about.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Or,
you,
like,
Steve.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I can definitely go with that.
I have here Pedro Pascal is after her lasso or something about how it possesses powers unknown to her and how he can unleash its full potential. I'm really going like worldwide saving here. I don't think we're getting a small scale Ant-Man. I
Yeah.
think we're going global.
Yeah, I think we are as well. I think, yeah, DC have kind of almost made the early moves to kind of put Wonder Woman more at the forefront of this universe.
Mm-hmm.
Is she the only one that's got a sequel?
Batman vs Superman,
No,
kind of.
like 2 solo films.
So
I think
far,
so.
yes.
That's crazy. That it started 2013 was Man of Steel.
Yeah.
It's taken until 2020 to get a 2 of
And
anything.
even then, they barely released this one.
And this one limped into.
Limped into direct on streaming video. Oh my god. Before we touch on that, actually, one more prediction here.
Yeah.
She's gonna figure out some sort of corrupt societal flaw in the Amazon, in the
And how their society's just as
exactly,
flawed
yeah.
as
And
the
then
humans.
she's gonna be like forced to leave, or she's gonna be banished, or something like that.
We're like, yeah, pick a side.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, they all make up in the end, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like going back to my kind of gripe about these midquels, I guess you can call them. When we've seen her before, we've seen her after. Like, what's the point of like exploring more here?
No stakes. Eh?
Yeah, no real stakes. You know, the world's totally fine. Come like whenever she appears in Batman vs Superman. So it's like, where do we leave her? Like, she can't be fully developed in her story because she's already like, how old is she? Like,
she doesn't really age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, I find it hard to connect to this, like, to this arc. So it's like, if you can't really make it so much about her growth, because she's kind of a bit of a boring character. She kind of suffers from that Superman syndrome where it's like,
she's very powerful.
You're impervious, you're awesome, you're cool. So how can you really, like, so I think the themes have to be more like about society. Yeah. Instead of her, really.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the first one was as well. It was her versus this idea that like this great war, the World War, was like, look how shitty society is that it's pitting these two people against each other, and that was a good theme.
It was like a wake up call.
They totally abandoned that in the last act, which was interesting. But I mean, I'm sure Patty's gonna take that all to heart. It's gonna be interesting to watch this. Yeah,
and what I'm hoping as well is that we can get some like really slick action scenes. I know there were some really good ones in the first Wonder Woman when she like slid into that house and like fucked up all those,
when she goes through
guys.
the
out of the trenches.
And that was good.
So let's see a continuation of that. I was really impressed with that stuff, like the high frame rate, and like there was some really cool stuff. So I hope we don't get like boring cut action.
No, I don't think we will.
Yeah. So do you know the duration?
I don't. It's probably long though.
Yeah. All right. Well,
one last question here, actually. This kind of ties into obviously the streaming now, but
yeah,
I'm going to ask you this one. It'll be a quick one, and then we'll get into that. If this movie had gone to theaters, no pandemic, would we have hit $1 billion?
No, I say like 740.
Okay. And now my follow-up to that is, are we going to talk about this HBO Max Warner Brothers deal?
Yeah, I'd love
what
to.
What it means.
I'm so caught on it because there's like your own self-gain, and then there's like what's right. Obviously, I'm excited to see these movies earlier than we probably would have. Like, I can't do a whole year of just like nothing coming out. I'll go
that
crazy.
Being said, like, I can't do Kong versus Godzilla on this TV with no surround sound.
Hearing that they didn't consult like a lot of the directors.
Like Dennis is pissed, eh?
Chris Nolan.
Yep.
Everyone's really choked. There was obviously some movies suit it, some don't. Kong Godzilla does not suit going straight to streaming. So that was a big mistake from them. Matrix is going straight to streaming.
Is it?
Yeah, like that to me, like that's such a big comeback.
Theater experience, like,
you need to. What were the other ones?
Dune. Dune. They're still fighting to do theaters.
Yeah, even like Batman, I think they were saying.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
I guess my worry is like, if they do this, is this going to end like the high budget blockbuster? Because obviously you're not making the same returns from streaming.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. Apparently, like, if the movie's big enough, the streaming companies are willing. Like, who was Netflix that were willing to pay like $300 million for
Bond?
No Time to Die?
Yeah, it was a little bit more than that, but yeah, it was a massive amount.
So it's like, I don't know. Like, if it's hard to say if it's like you have the streaming service, you can just watch the movie. But if it's like pay-per-view, I guess you want to call it. If you were to drop like Bond tomorrow, I think the returns are going to be like just as high as they would be in theaters. And that's the worrying part. I don't think it's the end of high budget movies. I think it's just the end of the model that we're so used to seeing and that we love so much.
And the theater going experience.
Yeah, because it's like if everything starts going straight to streaming, movie theaters, I think the strategy will be you can watch it at home, but it's going to be a lot more expensive. So people will still go to the theater to like save that money. But
he's there, little Dickie.
Yeah, but a lot of people are just going to be like, like whatever. I'll just either stream it or I just won't go.
Yeah.
And that's a shame because you cannot replicate certain movies. Like seeing Kong versus Godzilla would be amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm busting out the hazmat suit for that one. So
yeah. So we're going to go see that in theaters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay. Well, let's watch this movie.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Just to close that thing on the thing. Overall, if you could revoke the decision and make them wait until they could just do it all in theaters, would you?
Yes, I would.
You would?
Yeah.
What if that was next summer?
Yeah, if I had guarantees like that, I knew that
there's no guarantees in this life.
I know, but that like the theater going experience would return to what it was in 2018, 2019.
You're taking the risk of those theaters being bankrupt by the time. Are you gonna make it? It's not so easy, is it?
It's not easy, but I mean, like, it kind of like it merited a little bit more discussion, and it seems like they
just went for it.
They just went for it, and they didn't consult with anyone. And like, I think we're already seeing box office returns on Wonder Woman. It's just not that good. So that's my concern. It's
a shame that the movies they have tried it with, like Tenet's and Your Wonder Woman, like back in theaters.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe they just like weren't that great.
Yeah.
And that's why. But it's like you can't say like if Bond is amazing. Like neither of those franchises are ones you can really hold your hat on and be like people are gonna come see Wonder Woman. Like
it seems like Bond is actually. I like what they're doing is they're not afraid to push it back, and I think when like the green light is given, I think they're gonna push it up and kind of be that first movie. Yeah. And that's gonna push it to hit a billion easy. Exactly. Hit a billion easy. Yeah.
And they must have confidence in the thing. If they didn't at this point, you'd be like expectations are too high.
That was actually a note I want to mention. Our producer was mentioning how there's no confidence in this movie because they keep delaying it. But I think it's the opposite. I think it's the exact opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd just be like, it's not really that great. Just put it in streaming and we can just cut our losses.
Exactly. Yeah.
But apparently they're doing a couple reshoots and it's not like plot, we want to make it better. It's because already like things have become outdated.
Oh, wow.
Like certain things in the movie like aren't, I don't know what it is, but they're just saying like it's like very small pickups just because the world's already changed so much.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So probably have a couple of pandemic references.
Yeah, exactly. So
put your mask on, Bond.
Oh, that's social distancing.
A vaccine. All right.
After he throws the guy off a cliff, social distancing.
We'll save that one for November 2020.
We've been talking about doing that podcast for like a year and a half.
We got our Bond jokes already written up.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Wonder Woman 84.
We'll see you in 84, 83, 82, 81. 80.
79.
All right.
I wish I could do a podcast like you. I mean, not like too much like you, but it would be so great. I mean, you're so awesome.
What do you wish for, Anthony?
Pow! Wow.
Tell me you wish it. I wish this podcast was the number one podcast on Spotify.
All right.
Wonder Woman, we're back. Quick out of 10s. Did we do that first?
Let's do that.
Can we think? Jeez.
I'm locked and loaded.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, 5.
6.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
The hater pod streak continues.
Yeah. It's okay. I will preface it by saying like it was riding at like a solid 3-4 for the first like 25 minutes. And then I think once the tone kind of settled down a little bit, I started to just like let things pass that I maybe wouldn't have let pass like at the start, because we couldn't stop calling out all the terrible dialogue.
It was so like cliche, comical, it was ridiculous.
And then maybe the movie didn't really get any better, or maybe I just got used to it.
No, I think like we said, they kind of settled down a bit. It found itself. It seemed very jarring the first little bit.
Yeah. It started off with this like hokey, boring, like childhood scene.
Yeah, that we didn't need because we got that in the last movie.
Yeah.
And like the way it was tied into the climax there was
you nailed it. You were like, oh, there's a little lesson that she learns as a kid, and they say like, oh, like you can't have everything, you can't cheat everything. You're like, okay, like obviously she's gonna learn that along the way.
And let's just beat you over the head with it.
But it was like 14 minutes. Like it was so
long,
and it didn't look good.
No,
really.
There's zero stakes.
Just wide panning shots of horses jumping.
I
don't want to. Yeah, I feel bad.
You wanted to go over predictions before we just shred this movie? Maybe?
The last thing I'll say on that: do you ever like watch a movie where it's like you can tell that scene probably took so much work, but you're like the fact that no one is gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. They were so stoked. It has some like wide landscape sweeping
like
shots,
the planning, the scouting,
the smoke going up in the air, like
but it was all in vain, unfortunately. Sorry, go on with your predictions.
Predictions here.
I know why you want to get into this.
Because I had so many.
Yeah, you were nailing this. All right, let's hear them.
Okay, so we had a very typical 80s. After that abysmal opening, we had a very typical 80s arcade, almost like a bank robbery. It was a jewelry heist, so I'll take a ding for that.
You nailed that.
We got an invisible jet scene. They did it all right.
Yeah, that was an enjoyable scene. We'll get to it. We'll talk about that. There was another.
Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, she kind of loses her powers.
Oh yeah, that was
the big one. Yeah, and like so, her and Chris Pine, they like kind of normalized her a bit.
Yeah.
Which honestly, Anthony, I disliked that a lot.
Oh, go on. Why is that?
I just like that goes into one of my review points. Is like the reason the first woman I felt was so great because she was like kicking ass, and it was like this girl is fucking awesome, and now in this one, she seems like weaker, and it just seemed frustrating. It felt like we never got to see her at her full potential.
Yeah.
And even the final fight scene.
The final fight scene was just the most, like, I wouldn't go as far as to say like Venom level, but it was just dark and bouncy.
It was dark and
boring.
Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, but like Kirsten Wiig like never got any hits in. It was just her like punching the armor. There's no like blows back and forth. There's no weight to any hits. And that frustrates me because in the first Wonder Woman we saw like a grittier fighting, you know, and like heavy punches. So that was annoying. Yeah, so just to kind of summarize the plot very quickly, there's this character called Max Lord, and he's sort of like a con man, like 2-bit businessman who has these wild dreams, and he somehow learns about this like stone. I don't really know how he found out about it. I can't remember. No. But it somehow ties into what Diana Lane's doing. Diana Lane.
He finds the stone, cons Kristen Wiig into like making her think that he's into her. He steals the stone, and you can basically wish anything, and you get it from this stone.
And then he can take what he wants in return.
And how that stone just like fell into the hands of the Smithsonian Museum, I don't know.
Yeah, you really hated that.
It was just so, and it had like, it was a little crate full of hay and straw. Like I was like, what the fuck?
Is this Indiana Jones?
Yeah, exactly. And then he basically figures out, he's like, instead of just having one wish, I'll just wish that I am the stone, and then he can trick people into making wishes. And his plan is just to become all powerful.
Yeah.
But
he didn't really. Yeah. The world was like, spoiler alert, at the very end, like he has all this power, but the world is just gonna end anyways. So he didn't really think it through.
It was very hair blowing, and I think she.
Surprised we didn't get a sky beam.
Yeah. It seemed like Patty Jenkins was trying to like make a really unapologetic like classic story without trying to reinvent the wheel, but also having some timely themes in there. But there was some very heavy-handed dialogue like throughout the entire movie. Like you said you had to do this, like this thing does this, and it just,
the truth will always set you free.
Yeah. And just like people don't really talk like that. And there's kind of this interesting theme going on with Diana's trying to be the voice of reason and the person that everyone should look up to, but she's also susceptible to the greed of the stone because she wishes to have Steve Trevor back, and that's how he comes back.
Yeah.
I was very off with my opening scene. And then she kind of realizes, and you have to give something up. So she starts losing her powers, like you said.
Yeah, but she was like, I don't care.
Yeah, she was happy to just let bad things happen because she wanted to be with Steve. And he randomly came back in like another body. Which
but everyone else, like the wall, could just be magically appeared. So why shouldn't he just be?
And she's just like, all I see is you. And I was just like, no, stupid, dumb.
So as we mentioned, the first 25, 30 minutes or so, tonally so different from the first one.
Oh,
and from the rest of the
whole
movie. Like, campy dialogue and whatnot. Kirsten Wiig's intro, dropping the papers.
Yeah, I was saying like,
excuse me. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you
the supervillain origin story, like that you've seen 5,000 times.
Exactly. Are we watching be like you? Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I love you, Spider-Man.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Why does no one notice me? It was she wants to be noticed, so she wishes to be strong. That just like I made a note here. The fact that I was getting like major kind of Spider-Man 1 vibes. Like Spider-Man 1 was the first like modern superhero movie of this kind of generation.
Yep.
So it worked back then when it was like the next morning. He's like, oh, I don't need my glasses
Takes the glasses
anymore.
off. Yeah, it does a little jump.
I feel good. Yeah, and it was doing all of that. And
yes.
Like, this is a superhero movie in 2020. Like,
yes.
You have to be careful with stuff like that.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because I had this written down here. So nowadays, superhero movies are extremely saturated.
Yeah.
And
if you're not doing something different,
exactly,
get out.
If you're not trying to extend the mold, like my example here is Thor Ragnarok kind of did a good job on that. So, and yeah, it was very akin to like an original Spider-Man. Like, you know, we're going early 2000s.
You can't do that anymore.
For sure.
People like us who like a lot of what superhero movies are doing, and we have to argue with people.
Oh my god,
like, they're all the same. If they were
just like superhero movies,
I'd have nothing because
exactly.
it's true. Like you can't do those tropes anymore. It's boring, and we've seen enough of it.
I 100% agree. I was kind of bothered. I felt like when Chris Pine came back, there was a lot of focus on reminiscing of their relationship, and it got a little stale for me. It felt like we were kind of riding. It was like watching Wonder Woman 1.5 almost. Right. Like we couldn't move past that.
Did you feel like they had good chemistry overall? Like, is the chemistry there for you?
I don't know. Like, I wasn't really into it because they just kept, I don't know, they kept revisiting the past and all that. It did make for a good scene when they finally kind of separated.
That was powerful.
So that was powerful. And I guess I attribute that to a lot of the build up and their dynamic together. But
yeah, and like they didn't really give poor old Steve like much to do in this movie. Like he's just,
he punched a couple people.
He's constantly bewildered. Like, oh, this is awesome. Oh,
Diana,
this is a plane.
Yeah. Look at those engines.
So he's kind of a boring character, really. He's just happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
Wants to just be with Diana, but he eventually is the one who kind of brings her back and is like, no, this world needs you.
And that was a good scene.
We've had our moment. Yeah, that was very good. And then she sort of renounces her wish and he's
learns
gone.
To fly.
I don't want to see Steve again.
No, definitely not. Yeah. Chris Pine, and I think Chris Pine recognizes that. Yeah. Maybe he's done with this franchise.
Yeah. Was he ever part of it, really?
Has he? No. Has he been Pine for an MCU?
No, he's saved himself for Wonder Woman.
Oh, I guess he's going to be the next Mr. Fantastic. Yeah. Get a little Reed Richards in there.
Yeah, he would slay that role. What else did you like about the movie?
Okay, so I did like Pedro Pascal, and I did like Kirsten Wiig.
I feel like Pedro Pascal like wasn't that good, to be honest.
Oh, really? Maybe I'm just biased because I loved him in Mando, loved him in Game of Thrones. I don't know. I just felt he commanded the screen pretty well.
Yeah, like he took the dialogue he had, and like he was very unapologetic about it. Like he really went for the character.
Yeah, exactly.
So he was almost pulling off those campy lines because he just didn't seem to care about that they were cheesy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed. Like Kirsten Wiig had a good scene at the White House, but I feel like she was kind of robbed a cheetah scene because it was so dark and bouncy.
Yeah, and it came into it so last minute.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they did that to just avoid any Cats comparisons. I thought it looked fine, but it was dark.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see given her a bit more of a platform, I think.
Yeah, like she kind of spends a lot of the movie in this like halfway transformed phase. She ends up getting another wish, which I still don't understand how that
you hate works. The wish begotten.
Well, it was just so loosey-goosey with the rules. It was like, oh, some people's wishes would happen immediately. Some would be more of a gradual process. And then he's just like, oh, I'm feeling generous, like have another wish. And then everything I learned about her character seemed like she was really into like being loved and beautiful and all this. And then she's like, I want to be an apex predator. And that to me just felt like I could feel the shoehorn like wrenching the movie in a certain direction.
Bring in Cheetah.
Yeah. It's just like, you don't force it that hard. The character didn't make sense. Aside, I don't know the origins of Cheetah. Like maybe she always has that envious theme to Wonder Woman. I don't know. But it could have been a bit smarter in how they ended up getting her there.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing I need to bring up is just when you look at the MCU, yes, they've been sloppy with some things. Like before Iron Man becomes Iron Man, the world seems to be relatively unaware of like enhanced, as they call it there, like enhanced people. And then once he comes into the fray, all these other heroes come, and then we learn about heroes that existed in the past. But it's all tied up quite well. Whereas with this all happens before anything we've seen in the DCEU, and this would be like a world-defining global event that everyone talked about and would shape the future of the world. Yet when what's his name? The villain. In Batman vs Superman. Is it Doomsday?
Yes.
Yeah, when he lands.
What have you done?
And then Wonder Woman intervenes, and he's like, I thought she was with you. It's like, does Bruce Wayne not know who she is?
Bruce Wayne wasn't alive in the 80s.
Are you kidding me? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, wow. Yeah, good point.
It annoyed me. Like, you can't be that lazy. Wonder Woman.
They are.
They didn't hide her appearance. They tried to at the start. I see what you did there, Patty. by saying in the mall, they were like, oh, who is this woman?
Yeah.
But like later on, she's revealing herself to everyone.
Yeah.
She's running around the streets, and she would be a well-known figure.
Okay, fair
Didn't
enough.
like that.
Fair
Poor
enough.
continuity, sloppy.
Didn't really mention anything you liked.
What did I like? I thought it was shot well. The grain, the 80s grain looked quite nice. You were saying it's really hard to make flying scenes look good.
Yeah, and that one, like, it didn't feel cringy at all.
No,
it was
like,
good. Oh, that's actually really cool. I actually liked, I don't know if this was clicked in earlier for you, but when I realized that, like, Pedro Pascal could grant a wish and then take something in return, I liked when that clicked for me. I was like, oh, shit, I see what he's doing now.
Yeah, it kind of...
I thought he was just doing it on goodwill. Okay, I did this for you, now can you do something for me, please?
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. It was sort of, like, not optional.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it did flip. It was a new power for a villain to have that's not just, like, strength or speed or whatever. They gave him more of, like, a mental ability.
Yes.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I also liked the Cairo car chase scene.
Did you?
You said find something you like, man. Like,
I don't like how they made her so weak in it. I don't know.
But that gave her, if she was
I
just
know, but
everyone
I
down.
didn't like that. I wanted to see her like jumping around and punching trucks.
I don't know. I disagree there. I liked that she was a bit more vulnerable. Yeah, she got pegged with a couple of bullets and they hurt. Yeah. And I thought she's great.
She's great.
She's a great actor.
There was like a recurring subtle or not so subtle theme of like between Kirsten Wiig and Gal Gadot, like constantly getting like catcalled and harassed.
Oh yeah.
I actually kind of like that. I thought it was good to show kind of like a different side of things. You don't usually see that in movies. So
what was the meow reference that she made? She's like, "Oh, I've always been into cats." No,
that was in our predictions, wasn't it? And that didn't actually happen.
She did a meow thing.
She did do a meow thing.
At the very start when they met, it was like she's like, oh, like leopard skin's my favorite. Like, meow. I swear it was something like that. It's all blended together.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't. Our off-the-cuff jokes in our podcast should not be anything near what we see in a blockbuster film.
Yeah, and that was the scary thing. Yeah. And like, it wasn't mentioned in the pre-show, but while we were watching the movie, we'd make these like, kind of like jokey predictions, like, oh, if this happens, oh my god. Yeah. And then some of them started coming true.
More than what I would have liked.
Yeah, and that's when you kind of have an issue, especially if you are trying to be different in the superhero genre.
Yeah, and it wasn't in a way where you're like proud that you predicted it.
No,
it was
more
just
it
like
cliche.
I kind of
very tropey.
was hoping I was wrong.
Yeah. I did not like her like end monologue thing. I felt like that wasn't convincing enough for everyone to renounce their wish. Like if I was watching, I'd be like,
who's this?
I'm keeping my $1 million.
Yeah. And just they kind of planted the seed of this Alistair, who's the son of Pedro Pascal, and he obviously cared about him, but he wasn't a priority, and he thought the son wanted him to just be successful, but really he just wanted him to love him. And that was eventually like what made him change his mind. Nothing to do with what Wonder Woman did. It was just because he happened to like see him.
Or she showed him the truth.
She showed him that? Yeah. I don't know. It was all so messy and all over the place.
Yeah, and like I'm wondering if like did everything get erased? So it was like, is Pedro staring down some jail time, or is everything okay?
Yeah, now? I know. It's just he was so far gone and so like, such a deity at that point. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, like my son could potentially be running around. Like I have to stop all this. Yeah. Like he could have just gone and helped him anyway. Yeah,
that was a bit weak.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm wondering why I gave it a 6, because it seems like we've just trashed on it.
I know. But I was thinking like,
despite everything we said, I did enjoy watching it. And for a 2.5 hour movie, it did go by decently quickly. I wasn't ever like, oh my god, like please.
I wasn't checking my phone, checking the time.
I think part of it's down to like we just haven't had a lot of big releases.
Yeah,
so we're
just craving a movie.
Yeah, so it's probably more of a 5, to be honest with you. I'd like to revise to a 5.
Okay, that's allowed.
Yeah, one revision. So anything else to add with this really? I didn't like the gold suit thing. It lasted for what, like
a scene, that. Yeah. And it got destroyed.
And then a little electric cable and water takes down the cheetah, no problem.
But she was also fine.
She was just you can go to the next scene now.
What did you think of the whole?
It was awful.
What did you think of the wishing stone?
What's the wishing stone?
Like the rock.
Oh, stupid. I felt like I was watching Indiana Jones or Night at the Museum or something. Yeah.
What about the scene? Forgot about this one. When they go to that like Mayan shaman guy.
That was terrible.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah. Next to the arcade.
Yeah.
It made no sense. It never came up again.
And he doesn't even do anything. He just gives her a book and she figures it all out.
Yeah. It's very.
If you're gonna do something like that, like make it a cameo.
He wasn't even funny. I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Make it a tie-in character.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, we didn't get any DC tie-ins.
Yeah, it didn't feel like this felt like a very like one-off adventure, not to be really like tied into anything else, which is just like I guess they could probably do with a bit more of that. So I guess I don't really have an issue with that.
I think it was remarkably worse than the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I would agree. It felt
they missed the mark.
Yeah, I felt like it was kind of relying on like 80s nostalgia and
but then it feels like they kind of abandoned that.
It felt like the movie just like didn't have a lot going for it. The plot was just not there, so they tried to like fall back on the 80s nostalgia and the charisma of the cast.
It's like I don't know, it's like they took no risks.
And again, like 1984, like I was expecting more of like
an Orwellian
like
type
a Big
thing.
Brother like espionage theme, and it only ever really touched on that when he was like, "Oh, what do these satellites do?" And it was like, "Oh, you can take over any TV."
Yeah, but even then, it should have been more like a spying type thing. Maybe
it was like false wishes and promises, I guess. Like, but yeah, I thought there was gonna be more espionage and just more cleverness in the plot.
This ran us $29.99.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Would you recommend it?
Only if it was free on like a Netflix.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure it'll be on one of them eventually.
I would have watched this in theaters though. I wonder if I would have liked it more.
If I had gone to see this in theaters, I'd be more disappointed.
Okay.
I'd be angrier. Yeah, DC, just figure your shit out. I think they should just stick with what they're doing with Batman, it looks like it's going to be incredible. But like they obviously have something they can do well. This felt a bit more like a Marvel movie to me. And DC can't do Marvel.
Yeah, they got to do something a little bit different.
Stick to your like smaller stakes, more gritty and grounded stories.
Yeah.
Because this was not good. Same with Aquaman, really. I probably liked Aquaman more.
Aquaman was cool because it had like great action, and that was it. You got to like you recognize the plot is garbage, the acting, the dialogue is brutal, but if you see what James Wan pulled off there, it's very entertaining.
It's a spectacle.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's worth your money.
Yes.
Whereas this wasn't really that much of a spectacle.
Yeah, they tried to, they leaned away from action, but they also leaned away from, more social commentary that maybe that's what they're aiming for.
Yeah,
they didn't go all out.
It's kind of rare that I would say this, but I think they should have been a bit more heavy-handed with the social commentary. Like make it more of a timely piece about like everything that's going on today. That's what I always thought this movie was.
Yeah, like drawing parallels, there was like a very brief, I don't know if you saw in the background, like there's some police brutality going on there.
Yeah, that's kind of especially when the logo and choosing that title, but
maybe focus more on that and ground it a bit.
Yeah.
But
it never really went that far with it.
No.
I guess just like
they danced around it and then they're like, no, we're going global stakes.
Yeah.
Guy wants to take over the world.
Cheesy one-liner. Yeah, Steve, drop it.
And like he honestly didn't really have like an end goal.
Yeah.
Pedro did. Like that's
He was just gluttony and greed, I guess, which just it was like what is it? Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the theme.
I guess.
But yeah, I can't really put my finger on it, and I don't really feel like I need to.
Yeah, so all in all, Wonder Woman 84, a bit of a miss.
Will we ever see a good movie on this podcast again?
Yeah, there's been talks of the Snyder Cut, so...
Oh yeah, no, we're doing the Snyder Cut.
If Auntie and I want to shackle up for 4+ hours, you guys will be the first to hear about it.
Yeah, I think Snyder Cut's coming up. We've got Kong Godzilla coming pretty soon.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, just a little segment I want to introduce here.
Oh, okay.
Since we last recorded Borat, what have been your movies that you've watched?
I saw Da 5 Bloods.
Nice.
Excellent film. I watched all of The Boys.
Nice.
Very good series.
Great show.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched Queen's Gambit.
Nice. Is that good?
Yeah. Oh, you've not seen it?
No, it's on the docket for me.
Oh, dude, it's good.
Yeah?
It's supreme television.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
One of the best I've seen on Netflix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. High praise.
It's a little like highbrow for you, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'm sorry. What else have I seen? Yeah, hit me with something.
Watched Trial of Chicago 7.
Oh yeah, you liked that one.
Super good.
Yeah, is that Aaron Sorkin?
Good. Oh, is it Aaron Sorkin? You knew it was. You took the man's master class.
That
for
must
God's
be
sake.
that Aaron Sorkin fella.
I actually watched that Anne Hathaway Chiwetel movie, Lockdown.
How was that?
So bad.
Really?
2 out of 10. It was awful.
You know what else was a less than it was a 1 or 0 out of 10.
What?
Enola Holmes.
Oh, I watched that actually.
Dude, it was.
I actually enjoyed it.
No, you didn't.
I enjoyed it.
It was
I know you put your
so
review in, but I
bad.
thought it was pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I watched the One Direction documentary directed by Morgan Spurlock.
How was it?
That's pretty good.
I'm sure it would be.
Those boys have some talent.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, Wonder Woman 84 missed the mark just a little bit there.
Yeah. Not an absolute like disaster.
No,
but
yeah, probably not a flop, I would say, but you know, it's what you would expect, a poor follow-up sequel.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully DC. I feel like they've got some good things on the horizon, so let's just keep our eyes peeled for Aquaman 2,
Suicide Squad,
Squad.
Snyder Cut, Justice League. Let's go.
The Batman.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But until next time, I've been Anthony.
I've been Amin.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.